Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down my top 24 quarterback rankings and tiers for the 2024 fantasy football season. But before we could get into today's video, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter or X, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. And if you'd like to check out my PPR and half PPR tiered rankings and cheat sheet, the link to that is down in the video description or in the pinned comment on my Patreon for $7.50. So without further ado, let's get into my 2024 top 24 quarterback rankings and tiers. We begin with the S tier at the quarterback position with quarterbacks 1 through 4. At number 1, we got Jalen Hurts, quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, despite the fact that Jalen Hurts typically comes off the board as the quarterback 2 or 3, I strongly believe that Jalen Hurts is the quarterback number 1. Now, he did score 15 rushing touchdowns last season, which is the exact same number that Josh Allen achieved, but I do believe that it is much more likely that Jalen Hurts is able to replicate that number due to the tush push. Jalen Hurts has wide receivers like A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith at his disposal. They bring in Jahan Dotson, who is definitely a solid number 3. They've got Dallas Goedert, and they have the check down upside to Saquon Barkley. Jalen Hurts, to me, feels like the safest bet to finish as the quarterback 1 due to his immense amount of rushing upside game in and game out. And it feels like Jalen Hurts is just kind of knocking on the door of having that 4,000 plus yard passing season. He had 3,700 in 2022, 3,800 in 2023. So this year, based upon that pattern, it should be 3,900, but I'm going to get a little overzealous and say he hits 4,000 this season. Jalen Hurts is in the perfect situation to succeed, and I believe that Jalen Hurts should be the unanimous quarterback 1 in fantasy football rankings. At number 2, we got Josh Allen, quarterback of the Buffalo Bills. Now, Josh Allen's a guy that typically rushes anywhere from 7 to 10 touchdowns. Last year, he got his beak wet a bunch with 15 total rushing touchdowns. Now, the reason why I have Josh Allen ranked a little bit lower is because, again, I do believe that Josh Allen luck boxing into 15 total rushing touchdowns is a lot more unlikely than Jalen Hurts. Plus, you got the fact that Josh Allen is an interception machine. 18 interceptions in 2023, 14 in 2022, and 15 in 2021. Ultimately, the fact that he runs the ball a bunch, the fact that he is just throwing for a shit ton of touchdowns, ends up negating that at the end of the day. But that is ultimately what has me ranking Jalen Hurts over Josh Allen. But this shouldn't come as a Josh Allen hate piece, because I do think you should be taking Josh Allen as the quarterback too, despite the fact that the wide receiver room is a little bit suspect. At number 3, we got Lamar Jackson, quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens, quarterback 3 last season, and he should be able to do it yet again. He is essentially a locked and loaded top 5 quarterback when healthy due to his rushing upside. He has rushed for over 1,000 yards in 2 of the last 3 years, and if he somehow scores more than his typical 7 rushing touchdowns and gets to 10, that is where he is really going to burst through and become the quarterback 1. Now, he doesn't really have a crazy weapon core. Mark Andrews is obviously amazing. Zay Flowers is a breakout candidate, and they've got Rashad Master Bateman, who has been someone who's supposed to break out for what feels like the last decade. At the end of the day, though, we know how the Baltimore Ravens run, and they run on Lamar Jackson just like America runs on Duncan. Lamar Jackson is a no-brainer top 3 quarterback in the rankings. At number 4, we got Patrick Mahomes. Now, Patrick Mahomes is the least likely guy out of this group to use his legs a bunch, scoring a grand total of 0 rushing touchdowns last season, though his career would tell you that he'll probably score around 2 this season. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the National Football League by far. I understand he had a down year last season because the whole offense in terms of a majority of the regular season was very up and down. They weren't really able to find consistency. The wide receivers were dropping balls left and right, but this season they bring in Hollywood Brown, they bring in Xavier Worthy, big second-year breakout potential for Rashee Rice, the fastest driver alive, and they also have Travis Kelce. Now, despite the little amount of rushing upside that Patrick Mahomes has. He's a guy that you can't really overthink. He could throw for over 5,000 passing yards and 40 plus touchdowns, and not a single fucking soul on earth would be surprised. So while he doesn't have that crazy rushing upside weekly, I definitely think he belongs in the S tier with these other guys. Moving now into the A tier, we begin with Anthony Richardson of the Indianapolis Colts. Now, we have been talking about Anthony Richardson all summer long, like that Kid Rock song, and there are a lot of heavy takes for Anthony Richardson. Either you're with me, you believe in Anthony Richardson, or you're on the polar opposite side, I don't know why the fuck my voice just lagged there in real life, but the polar opposite side where you think Anthony Richardson is going to get injured again, and you think Anthony Richardson fucking sucks, despite the fact that when he was healthy, he was putting up top 5 numbers in basically every single game. They don't care about that. Anthony Richardson brings in more weapons to him, as if he brought him in, but the team brought him in. They got a Donnie Mitchell now. They have Josh Downs. They also have Michael Pittman Jr. Jelani Woods is hurt, but I'm not really I wasn't super high on Jelani Woods being like the next Travis Kelce or something. The reason why I like Anthony Richardson is because of the rushing upside. There's the clear injury risk. It is as blatant as it gets. And Anthony Richardson is a funny nickname, a funny joke. But when push comes to shove, if the guy is able to stay healthy due to his rushing upside, due to his cannon attached to his right arm, Anthony Richardson has that upside to be the quarterback one, which is why he belongs at the tippy top of the A tier. At number 2 in this tier, which is my quarterback 6, we got Kyler Murray, the short king of the Arizona Cardinals. Last year, he comes back from the torn ACL, the torn meniscus, and doesn't necessarily look like himself. Now, did he look like a 2-pack of ass? No, but he definitely didn't look like the old Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray started off his career as a top 10 quarterback in 3 straight seasons and was the quarterback numero uno in 2020. Kyler Murray, just like Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, have a crazy amount of rushing upside. Kyler Murray didn't really use his legs as much last season due to the injury, but I believe in 2024, now that he is more months removed from the injury, he is going to be ready to run hog wild. Kyler Murray now has wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr., who is a huge upgrade to the rest of the weapons they have in Arizona. They also have Trey McBride, who looks like a guy that can have an even better second season. No sophomore slump for Trey McBride. So Kyler Murray, ranking him ahead of CJ Stroud, might be getting some people's panties in a bunch in the comment section because, Nick, CJ Stroud's a better quarterback than Kyler Murray. I might agree with that. But in fantasy football, the rushing upside trumps all. At number 7, we got CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud was the quarterback 13 last season, and now they bring in Stephon Diggs. They have one of the best, if not the best, wide receiver core in the NFL. A threesome like Mia Malkova, Riley Reed, and Violet Myers all linking up. CJ Stroud has Nico Collins. He has Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs. They also have Dalton Schultz, Joe Mixon, who's a solid check down candidate. CJ Stroud is a guy that's upside is somewhat limited by his rushing, only 167 rushing yards last season. But when push comes to shove, even if he doesn't have that crazy Juka defender out, stiff arm him to middle earth, CJ Stroud is going to throw for over 4,000 passing yards. He threw for 4,000 passing yards in his rookie year, 23 touchdowns, and 5 INTs. While I definitely like Kyler and Anthony Richardson more than him, if he falls past those guys and you want to take him, I won't judge you. But if you're taking CJ Stroud ahead of Kyler and ahead of Anthony Richardson, that's when I start to judge you. At number 8, we got Joe Burrow, Joe Shiesty, Slim Shiesty, quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow ends up getting hurt last season. He comes into the year hurt. Then in the middle of the season, he is absolutely rolling. He is bending teams over a table, and then he ends up getting hurt again, and we never see of him until training camp, where we saw Joe Burrow yet again. He had back-to-back seasons with 4,400 plus yards, 30 plus touchdowns. He's great. We know that. Jamar Chase, a little bit suspect on if he wants to fucking show up to training camp or if he wants to play hooky and get a new contract. But I assume everything's going to be all fine and dandy with Jamar Chase. T. Higgins, one of the best wide receiver twos in the NFL. They bring in Mike Licky on my Gesicki. Sure, they lose Tyler Boyd, but they draft two guys that are relatively highly touted. So Joe Burrow is going to be perfectly fine here. Another guy that really just feels like wrapping a condom around your team. A super safe pick, just like CJ Stroud. At number 9, we got Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. Dak seems to be feeling some type of way about Jerry Jones based upon the interview that recently came out, where he basically seems like he's pissed off that he hasn't gotten that big, fat, juicy contract, but ultimately, Dak will be the QB1 of the Dallas Cowboys. CD Lamb got paid, so there's no need to worry about Dak's upside. He was a top 5 quarterback in fantasy football last season. Now, the team didn't really bring in any other weapons. All they did was bring in a retread in Ezekiel Elliott to be the running back 1 or running back 2, the tag team with Rico Dowdle and Ezekiel Elliott. Obviously, that doesn't swing the pendulum in a big way. There's been a lot of hype about Jalen Tolbert, but at the end of the day, who even gives a shit? He's got CeeDee Lamb, one of the best, if not the best wide receivers in the National Football League. You have Jake Ferguson, an up-and-coming tight end. Dak Prescott is another one of these guys that feels like a very comfy click, especially when you can get him at around pick number 80. At number 10 to close out the A tier, we got Jordan Love Me Tender, Love Me Sweet, quarterback of the Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love, who has some sneaky rushing upside. Now, obviously, he's not going to go out there like Josh Allen and jump over a motherfucker, right? Or hit someone so hard that they shit themselves. But Jordan Love does have some slight rushing upside. He rushed for 4 total touchdowns last year. In his essential rookie year, he had 4,000 passing yards plus 32 passing touchdowns and 11 INTs. While Jordan Love doesn't have this crazy group of wide receivers, right? It's not like Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Riley-Reed have a crazy amount of aura around him, right? It's not like when you're talking about the Dolphins with Waddle, with Tua, with Tyreek Hill, when you talk about Jalen Hurts and the Slim Reaper and A.J. Brown, not like you talk about T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, right? These guys are a bunch of low-key wide receivers, but when you combine them together, they're like the fucking Power Rangers, right? You've got Dontavian Wicks, you got Romeo Doubs, you got Jaden Reed, you got Christian Watson, and you got Bo Melton. While none of those guys is on paper the second coming of fucking Randy Moss, they do score a lot of touchdowns. The Green Bay Packers offense under Matt LaFleur has been very effective. Jordan Love deserves a lot of apologies because a lot of people tried to rain on his parade entering into last season. He is a clear top 10 quarterback in the NFL and a clear top 10 quarterback in fantasy football. Now we move into the B tier where we start to dive into more question marks. Now, I'm fine with any of these guys, but some of this grouping you might not feel as confident in and might want to package them with a second quarterback. Now, if you draft anyone from number 1 in the S tier all the way closing out to Jordan Love Me Tender, Love Me Sweet at the end of the A tier, you should not be drafting a second quarterback, in my opinion. At number 11, we got Brock Purdy. Now, Brock Purdy was a guy that was super close to being in the second tier, in the A tier, but ultimately, I let him dwindle his way down into the B tier. But if you want to have an argument, Nick, Big Cock Brock's amazing. Brandon Ayuk's back, Nick. Brock Purdy's going to be great. Go ahead. I kind of do like Brock Purdy. So if you want to put him in the A tier, go right ahead. Quarterback 6 last season. And despite the fact that Brock Purdy is just shit on daily, everyone makes fun of the guy. No one gives him any credit. Anyone could throw the ball on the San Francisco 49ers. Anyone could be the quarterback, even though Brock Purdy is like Jimmy Garoppolo on steroids. He makes Jimmy Garoppolo look like a baby back bitch. Brock Purdy is significantly better than what they got out of Jimmy G. 4,200 passing yards last year, 31 touchdowns, 11 INTs, and he still has the Avengers around him. Avengers assemble. He's got Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, and Christian McCaffrey. Feels like a very safe bet to finish inside of the top 12 with big upside in any given game when the San Francisco 49ers absolutely run a train on a defense. At numero 12, we got my guy, Tua Tagovailoa, Tua of the Miami Dolphins. Now, despite the fact that this dude absolutely ripped the league a new asshole last season, led the league in passing yards, 29 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, not the best for my main man, Oos, but that's okay. Tua Tagovailoa, he slimmed down a little bit. He's not as thick with 3 C's. Shout out to Kim Kardashian like he was last season. And there's been some reports that Tua's going to get a little bit spicy and run the ball a little bit more. You saw that a lot early on in his career, but then he got knocked on his head, obviously. As a Dolphins fan, that was the scariest injury I've ever seen on TV. I almost shit myself when I saw that. Tua looked good, though, last season, and it appears he's going to try to run the ball a little bit more. Again, I don't expect him to lace up his cleats and run out there and do some crazy shit where he spins a guy out and just jukes another guy outright. He's never going to do that. He did back in the day, though, lower his shoulder, try to truck a Jets player. Hopefully he doesn't do that as a Dolphins fan, but maybe he does, right? He can run the ball a little bit. I'm not going to sit here and give the Gawk Gawk 9000 special to Tua, because Tua just kind of feels like a guy that's going to finish anywhere from quarterback 8 to quarterback 16 with minimum rushing upside. And with the fact that the rushing attack is so good, it does limit Tua Tagovailoa. But I feel like if you rank him much lower than this, like if you want to rank him as like the quarterback 15 or 16, well, I think he could finish there. I just feel like with Tyreek, with Waddle, if they just figure things out later on in the season, Tua should be a top 12 quarterback. At number 13, we got Caleb Williams. Now, the casual take on Caleb Williams, and the take that you might have, is that Caleb Williams is soft as baby shit. Caleb Williams went and cried to his mom after USC lost, so I'm not drafting that baby back bitch, Caleb Williams, okay? Despite the fact that he has Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, and DJ Moore, despite the fact that he has DeAndre Swift and Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett, I'm not going to draft him. Caleb Williams also sneaky good at rushing, and I think that Caleb Williams in his first season could make a big splash like a fat dude jumping into a pool. Caleb Williams saw just last year CJ Stroud light the league on fire, and I believe that Caleb Williams has that exact same upside. I mean, coming into the NFL, CJ Stroud was definitely a liked prospect. I'm not saying that CJ Stroud wasn't someone that fans would be all hot and bothered, oogling and ogling about, but Caleb Williams is the type of guy where people would sacrifice their firstborn child to have Caleb Williams be their quarterback, okay? Caleb Williams is a generational prospect entering into an amazing situation. Again, all the weapons, a top half offensive line. The guy that, whether you like it or not, has top 5 quarterback upside in his rookie year. Next up, we got Jaden Stormy Daniels of the Left Hands Up. Who are we? The Commanders. Now, Jaden Daniels isn't as highly touted of a prospect as Caleb Williams. Now, Jaden Daniels did win the Heisman last season, but entering onto the Washington team is definitely a lot worse of a landing spot, right? He didn't land with the perfect situation of Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, the top half offensive line, right? He enters onto a team with a not-so-hot offensive line with basically Terry McLaurin and a bunch of fucking bums, right? But, and this is a big but, shout out to Rhea Ripley, Jaden Daniels does have that sneaky, really good rushing upside. And honestly, I wouldn't even call it sneaky, just straight up unadulterated rushing upside. So here kind of just feels like you gotta rank him inside of the top 15. At number 15, we got the Goffinator, Jared Goff. Top 10 quarterback in back-to-back years. So why don't I have him ranked there? Why don't I give him a crazy amount of credit? Now, I, for one, love giving Jared Goff credit. I've been talking up Jared Goff for years, even when people didn't believe in him. I believed in Jared Goff just like I do in Joe Hendry. Problem is, there really isn't a problem with him. Great offensive line, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. This is an offense that is loaded to the fucking gills. It is a full house. Shout out to Uncle Jesse. But Jared Goff just doesn't feel as fun as the other guys ahead of him. He could easily finish as the top 10, just as he did in the last 2 seasons, back-to-back 4,400 plus passing yard seasons, 29 plus passing touchdowns. Jared Goff feels like another guy that, you're not lighting the world on fire to draft Jared Goff, right? You're not doing anything crazy to get him, but if you get him, it could be a lot worse. At number 16, we got Trevor Lawrence, touchdown Jesus T. Law himself. Now, the Jacksonville Jaguars start off the season last year, and to be honest with you, through the first 8 weeks of the season, I'm like, by golly gee, the Jaguars might go to the fucking Super Bowl, to the Soupy. Does that end up happening? Fuck no, baby, because they don't even make the playoffs. Everything's going right. Lawrence gets hurt, and then everything goes wrong. Trevor Lawrence hasn't technically lived up to all of that hype that he got coming out of college, where everyone was fondling his balls like it was a fucking fushigi. But now in 2024, he's going to throw for over 4,000 passing yards, right? They bring in Brian Thomas Jr., they have Christian Kirk, they bring in Gabe Davis, they've got Evan Ingram, they've got Travis Etienne, so they have some solid weapons there. He's going to throw for over 4,000 yards if he's healthy. He's going to throw for around 25 touchdowns. If he can keep the interceptions down and maybe sneak in 5 touchdowns, he could be a top 10 quarterback. So right now, as the quarterback 16, when he was the quarterback 14 last year, I don't think that's that absurd of a ranking. At number 17, we got Coles Cash Kirk Thuggins. Now, prior to last season, he was a top 13 quarterback from 2022 all the way up until 2015, back when I was a sophomore in high school, and a top 12 quarterback in every single season outside of 2019, where he was the quarterback 13. Kirk Cousins feels like wrapping a Trojan around your team normally. The only thing devaluing him to me is not the weapons, right? He's got Drizzy Drake London, he's got Kyle Pitts, he's got Bijan Robinson, he's got Darnell. Here comes the Mooney, right? He's got the weapons, but he's coming off of a pretty serious injury. So I can't fully be glazing on, doing tricks on Kirk Cousins because of that. Everything I've read, he's going to be fine. He doesn't have crazy rushing upside either. Should finish here as a top 18, top 16-ish guy, which feels pretty good in the B tier. If he was my quarterback 2 in a super flex league or in a 2-quarterback league, I would be ecstatic about that. Moving into the C tier here, we got the old heads, Matthew Stafford and Aaron Rodgers, plus Baker Mayfield, the journeyman at this point, right? He's been on 3 different teams recently: the Cleveland Browns, the Carolina Panthers, the Rams, that's 4 fucking teams, as well as the Buccaneers. But before we talk about these guys and then get into the guys in the D tier, I would like to give you guys a quick word for our friends and our sponsor over at Underdog Fantasy. Now, if you're not familiar to what Underdog Fantasy is, they're the best place to do best ball fantasy football drafts in the whole entire universe. So if you are doing your fantasy football draft this weekend, you want to hop in some more, check out Underdog Fantasy. If you don't know what best ball is, it's the best part about fantasy football. It's the draft, and that's it. There's no waivers, no trades, and no in-season management. Underdog will automatically put the highest scores into your lineup every single week. It makes it very fun because you can follow it all season long while also not having the stress of forgetting to set your lineup. If you're new to Underdog Fantasy and use promo code Notorious or click on the link in the video description, you'll receive a special pick of something like week 1 higher than half a passing yard for Lamar Jackson, plus bonus cash of up to $1,000. Promo code Notorious or by clicking on the link in the video description. Matthew Stafford is in an amazing situation in LA. Puka Nacua, fucking amazing rookie year, makes everyone look foolish who doubted him. Cooper Kupp, while he was kind of mid last year, not amazing. He looks great entering into the season fully healthy. They've got Kyron Williams, Blake Corum, and they have Jordan Whittington, Demarcus Robinson, so their wide receiver core runs deep. Problem with Stafford is it feels like Stafford's just kind of permanently fucked up, right? He's been dealing with the hamstring injury, the neck previously, the mobility questions, all that. So while I think you should probably rank him inside of the B tier, due to the injury concern, I'm just not going to put him there. But again, no one in the comment section be like, Nick, are you a Matthew Stafford hater? Because I have been hyping up Matthew Stafford for a very, very, very long time. Moving next to Mr. Discount Double Check, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has the best highlight tape from last season. It's just the video of him running onto the field with the American flag. Now, I am a New York Jets hater. As a Miami Dolphins fan, I fucking despise everything about the Jets. But keeping the bias out of things, had Aaron Rodgers have stayed healthy last season, things would have looked a whole lot different for the Jets. Now, would they have won the Super Bowl? Who fucking knows? But they probably would have had a significantly better season. Aaron Rodgers is returning from the Achilles, so I can't really hype him up a bunch. It's kind of similar to Matthew Stafford with the injury concerns, so maybe he doesn't look the same. But everything out of training camp kind of shows he does look the same, where he's at least 75 to 80% of his old self. He's got Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall. The offensive line is a question. He's ancient, so he doesn't really have some crazy rushing upside. Another guy that if he was my quarterback too, I would be fine with that. Closing out the C tier, we got Baker Mayfield. Now, Baker Mayfield whipped out his dick last season and was playing fucking Indiana Jones with it. He was using it like a fucking whip. He was slapping the defense up left and right, and it was beautiful to watch as a Baker Mayfield stan, as a Baker Mayfield believer, like a Justin Bieber fan, all right? Quarterback 9 last year, over 4,000 passing yards, 28 passing touchdowns, 10 INTs, 1 rushing touchdown. It was beautiful. Chef's kiss, Manu Fuik. Problem? The problem is Dave Canales is gone, and he is now the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. Could that be the body bag for Baker Mayfield? Potentially. I always will believe in Baker Mayfield, so I'm not going to fully throw him into the D tier, but my worries are 100% there for Baker fucking Mayfield. And I believe Baker is so cool, he deserves the fucking, Seth fucking Rollins. You know what I'm talking about, you WWE fans? So at the D tier, we've got the guys that if you're in a 2-quarterback league, you're feeling a little bit sus if these are your quarterback 2. Justin Herbert. Now, there's going to be a bunch of people that literally live to just love Justin Herbert. There are people that will defend this guy like he is their god himself. They believe that Justin Herbert has been fucked by the Chargers, this, that, and the other thing, whatever. I like Justin Herbert. He's a very talented player, one of the best top 12 quarterbacks in the NFL. Problem? The problem is very clear. Jim Harbaugh is there. They're going to want to run the ball. Instead of drafting a shiny new wide receiver, they draft an offensive lineman. They bring in Dobbins, Edwards, Cavani Vidal to run the shit out of the ball. His wide receivers are Joshua Palmer, who I like. Vlad McConkey, rookie out of Georgia, I like. But then, Quentin Johnston doesn't even have hands. He does not even have hands. So Justin Herbert on a run-heavy team with was by far his worst wide receiver core of his career. Kind of a clear stay away from me, but he's so good that I didn't want to rank him like quarterback 24. Because again, I'd definitely rather take Justin Herbert on a run-heavy team over the massage man, Deshaun Watson. Speaking of Deshaun Watson, he's number 22. I was just in Cleveland a couple of days ago, and I went to get a massage, and it actually, on the wall of the massage parlor, there's just a picture of him, and it says that he is banned, B-A-N-N-E-D. Can't be having Deshaun Watson in there. Cleveland Browns quarterback. I believed him last year, and I was wrong. Now, was he really bad, 2022? No. But did he look really good? No. I think deep inside of him, he's still that guy strumming the guitar, that guy that was looking like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL in Houston. But I think that guy's buried behind a lot of tension, and I just don't think I can rank Watson much higher. Again, maybe he unleashes the fucking beast like he's the Hulk or something, but I'm not going to bet on that. At number 23, we got Geno Smith. Top 20 quarterback in back-to-back years, quarterback 6 in 2022. We all wrote him off, and he didn't write back. Shitty 2023, though, compared to what we saw in 2022. Great wide receiver core. Again, what makes me want to draft Geno, though? The offensive line is pretty mid. Pretty bad, actually. Not even mid, just bad. It seems like they really want to run the ball a bunch with Kenneth Walker. Geno Smith just didn't look as good as he did in 2022. So maybe he outpaces my quarterback 23 ranking, but it's not like if you miss as Geno Smith is your quarterback 23 and he ends up as the quarterback 19, no one's going to come back to this video and be like, haha, Nick, you got it wrong. He was the quarterback 19, not the quarterback 23, you dumb bastard. No one's going to do that, right? Whereas if I say that Anthony Richardson is going to be a top 5 quarterback and then Anthony Richardson stays healthy and he's like the quarterback 20, then people will come back here and laugh at me. But you can't do that for the Geno Smith take. To close things out, we got my main man, Will Levis. Now, I've been watching tape of Levis all offseason. I've also seen some tape that is uncensored of Will Levis. And let me tell you, the guy doesn't last very long, but I think he's going to last very long in the National Football League as the Tennessee Titans bring in a new coaching staff. They end up getting rid of Vrabel, and I am a Vrabel fan, but I think it is good to have a more pass-heavy attack here in Tennessee. They've got D-Hop, they've got Calvin Ridley, they've got Chig Okonkwo, they bring in Tyler, Boyd. So Will Levis is set up for success. He had some solid flashes last season, but ultimately nothing consistent enough for me to rank him higher, though I will be cheering on the Tennessee Titans this year, and I am a fan of Will Levis, but I'm not just going to get overzealous, get too crazy, because I like Will Levis, the Mayo Man himself, and rank him absurdly high. So thank you guys all so much for watching. If you did end up enjoying today's video, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below, like it owes you some money. Hit it with that left hand of Alex Poatan Pereira. I love you guys all so much. We are approaching the start of the 2024 NFL season, and it genuinely means everything to me, all of the support you guys have shown over the last couple of months, especially in August. The growth has been insane. Like, the channel is on some Viagra. So I really do appreciate it. Genuinely, I don't want to get emotional on here or anything. I don't want to cry, right? And people make fun of me or something. But I do genuinely appreciate you guys so much. Without you guys, the whole ship sinks. So I owe it all to you. I make the videos, but the reason why I make them is because so many of you guys like to watch them. I'm so excited for the start of the season. We're going to have so much fun, and we're going to bring home some championships this season. We're going to be eating W's like our name was famous Jameis Winston. So I love you guys all so much. Check out one of the videos on your screen if you haven't seen them already, and I'll see you guys soon with another video. Good boy.